What if I told you the secret to healthier plants isn't in a bottle but right beneath your feet? Prepare to rethink everything you know about feeding your garden. We're diving deep into the living soil approach that will revolutionize your gardening, without the need for harsh chemicals. Picture this. You've been faithfully feeding your plants with synthetic fertilizers for years, watching them grow and, seemingly thrive. But beneath the surface, something troubling is happening. Your soil is becoming dependent on these chemical inputs, much like a person becomes dependent on caffeine to function. The moment you stop providing those synthetic nutrients, your plants struggle and you're left wondering what went wrong. Synthetic fertilizers deliver a quick hit of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium directly to plant roots, bypassing the natural soil ecosystem entirely. While this might seem efficient, it's actually creating a devastating cycle of dependency. These chemical salts can burn delicate root hairs, disrupt the pH balance of your soil, and most critically, they starve the invisible workforce that should be naturally feeding your plants. Your soil is home to billions of microorganisms, fungi, bacteria, and other beneficial creatures that form complex relationships with plant roots. When you flood the soil with synthetic fertilizers, you're essentially telling this workforce they're no longer needed. Over time, this biological activity diminishes and your soil transforms from a living, breathing ecosystem into something closer to sterile dirt. The long-term consequences are profound reduced water retention, poor soil structure, increased pest and disease pressure, and plants that can't survive without constant chemical intervention. My own journey away from synthetic fertilizers began with a moment of revelation in my garden. I had been dutifully applying chemical fertilizers for years, yet my plants seemed increasingly vulnerable to pests and diseases. The soil felt lifeless in my hands, compacted and lacking that rich, earthy smell I remembered from my grandmother's garden. That's when I discovered the concept of living soil. And well, everything changed. Living soil is exactly what it sounds like, soil that teems with life. Imagine an underground city where billions of microorganisms work together in perfect harmony. Mycorrhizal fungi extend thread-like networks that connect plant roots across vast distances, sharing nutrients and information. Beneficial bacteria break down organic matter and make nutrients available to plants in precisely the forms and quantities they need. Earthworms tunnel through the soil, creating channels for air and water while depositing nutrient-rich castings. This is nature's original internet, a complex web of communication and cooperation that has sustained plant life for millions of years. When you nurture this living system instead of bypassing it with synthetic inputs, remarkable things happen. Your plants develop stronger immune systems, becoming naturally resistant to pests and diseases. Their roots grow deeper and more extensive, allowing them to access water and nutrients even during drought conditions. The soil structure improves dramatically, becoming more porous and better at retaining moisture while still draining excess water effectively. You'll notice your plants have a vitality and resilience that simply can't be achieved with chemical fertilizers alone. The foundation of any living soil system is high-quality compost. Think of compost as the ultimate superfood for your soil's microorganisms. When you create compost from kitchen scraps, yard waste, and other organic materials, you're essentially pre-digesting these materials for your soil biology. The composting process breaks down complex organic compounds into simpler forms while multiplying beneficial microorganisms exponentially. Making compost doesn't require a PhD in soil science. Start with a simple 3-bin system or even just a pile in a corner of your yard. Layer brown materials like dried leaves, straw, or shredded paper with green materials such as vegetable scraps, grass clippings, or coffee grounds. The key is maintaining the right balance of carbon and nitrogen while ensuring adequate moisture and air circulation. Turn your pile regularly, and within a few months you'll have dark, crumbly compost that smells like rich forest soil. Once your compost is ready, go ahead and apply it generously to your garden beds. You'll want to work it gently into the top few inches of soil, or honestly, you can just spread it right on the surface and let the earthworms and other soil creatures incorporate it naturally over time. This compost does a whole lot of good. It feeds the microorganisms, improves soil structure, increases water retention, and provides a slow-release source of nutrients that, plants can access as needed. Mulching is the second pillar of living soil management. A diverse mulch layer really mimics what happens naturally on the forest floor, where fallen leaves, twigs, and other organic matter create a protective blanket over the soil. This mulch layer moderates soil temperature, helps retain moisture, suppresses weeds, and most importantly, provides a continuous food source for soil organisms as it slowly decomposes. Don't limit yourself to just one type of mulch. Go ahead and use a combination of materials: shredded leaves, straw, grass clippings, wood chips, and even cardboard. Each material decomposes at a different rate, and honestly, feeds different types of soil organisms. As this diverse organic matter breaks down, it creates that complex soil structure and nutrient cycling that supports healthy plant growth. To supercharge your soil's biological activity, you might want to consider adding earthworms and beneficial microorganisms directly. Red wiggler worms are particularly effective at processing organic matter and creating nutrient-rich castings. You can purchase them from suppliers, or, honestly, you might even find them in existing compost piles. Mycorrhizal fungi inoculants, which are available at many garden centers, can help establish those crucial fungal networks that partner with plant roots. While these organisms will eventually establish themselves naturally in healthy soil, adding them initially can really accelerate the transition from lifeless dirt to vibrant living soil. Once you've mastered the fundamentals of composting and mulching, cover cropping opens up new possibilities for soil improvement. Cover crops are plants grown specifically to benefit the soil rather than for harvest. Legumes like clover, vetch, and field peas form partnerships with nitrogen-fixing bacteria, actually pulling nitrogen from the atmosphere and storing it in the soil for future crops. Grasses and grains like winter rye and oats have extensive root systems that improve soil structure and add organic matter when they're eventually chopped down and incorporated into the soil. Plant cover crops in unused areas of your garden between growing seasons or even as living mulch between your main crops. These plants work around the clock to improve your soil, preventing erosion, suppressing weeds, and feeding soil organisms with their root exudates. When you terminate cover crops by cutting them down, their roots decompose and create channels for air and water movement, while their above-ground biomass adds to your mulch layer. Companion planting takes the living soil approach above ground by creating beneficial relationships between different plants. Some plants, like marigolds and nasturtiums, produce compounds that naturally repel harmful insects while attracting beneficial ones. Others, like comfrey and dandelions, have deep roots that mine nutrients from lower soil layers and make them available to shallow-rooted companions. Dynamic accumulator plants concentrate specific nutrients in their tissues, and when used as mulch or compost ingredients, they create targeted soil amendments. Understanding your soil's specific needs requires a different approach to soil testing when you're working with living systems. While traditional soil tests focus on chemical analysis of available nutrients, living soil testing examines biological activity as well. Simple tests you can perform at home include observing earthworm populations, assessing soil structure by examining how well water infiltrates, and noting the diversity of soil organisms you find when digging. Professional biological soil tests can measure microbial biomass, fungal to bacterial ratios, and enzyme activity, giving you insights into how well your soil ecosystem is functioning. The transformation from synthetic dependence to living soil abundance doesn't happen overnight, but the changes become visible surprisingly quickly. Within a single growing season, you'll notice improvements in soil structure and water retention. Your plants will show increased vigor and resilience with stronger stems, more vibrant foliage, and improved resistance to environmental stresses. By the second year, the differences become dramatic, with soil that feels alive in your hands, plants that seem to grow with effortless vitality, and garden beds that require less water, fewer inputs, and minimal intervention to produce abundant harvests. The financial benefits compound over time as well. While there's an initial investment in building your compost system and establishing soil biology, the long-term savings are substantial. You'll eliminate the ongoing costs of synthetic fertilizers, reduce your need for pesticides and fungicides, and find that your improved soil requires less supplemental watering. Many gardeners discover that their living soil gardens actually become more productive over time, as the soil ecosystem matures and becomes more efficient at supporting plant growth. Beyond the immediate benefits to your garden, embracing living soil practices connects you to a larger movement towards sustainable agriculture and environmental stewardship. Every garden that transitions from synthetic inputs to biological abundance represents a small but significant step toward healing our relationship with the natural world. You're not just growing healthier plants, you're actively building soil carbon, supporting biodiversity, and creating habitat for countless beneficial organisms. Start your living soil journey today with simple steps. Begin a compost pile, apply organic mulch to your beds, and resist the urge to reach for that bottle of synthetic fertilizer. Observe the changes that unfold in your garden over the coming months and seasons. Trust in the ancient wisdom of soil organisms that have been perfecting their craft for millennia, and prepare to be amazed by what's possible when you work with nature instead of against it. Ready to transform your garden and join the Living Soil revolution? Subscribe to the Living Soil Lab for more in-depth guides, seasonal tips, and inspiration for creating the thriving, sustainable garden of your dreams. Share this guide with fellow gardeners who are ready to ditch the chemicals and discover the incredible power of living soil. Together, we're growing more than just plants. We're cultivating a healthier future for our gardens and our planet.